We are going to call this the raw and uncut version of TRBM. Here's the deal, folks. Low on energy. Last night I was at the STM Peddlers Market selling my books, and it was wildly successful. The kind of successful that I want to share some things that I saw and learned about craft fairs that I think if you are an author, which why would you be listening to this show if you aren't, you would love to know. Also, I want to let you know that I recorded this podcast already, and the audio quality was one of the rare times when it was so bad I couldn't justify giving it to you. There was some good stuff in there. Ultimately, the piece that I want to boil down here now at this moment is my good friend and podcat co-host Chewy is sick. He has been sick for the last 2 years. I was rubbing his belly one morning and discovered that one of his nipples was inflamed. Um, so we took him in to the vet. And at the vet, we discovered that he did indeed have breast cancer. So I've learned since then that breast cancer is actually common in male Siamese cats. I remember that day. I'll never forget that day. My wife and I were down at the lake, sitting on the wooden kind of porch swing, watching March Madness. Baylor was playing, and they made an improbable comeback, but then ended up falling short. It was one of the worst moments of my life. And when I say that, I automatically start to filter for the kind of people who might be listening to the podcast and the kind of people I know in my life. But there are a lot of people who fall into the category of saying that animals are just animals and there's nothing to get all bent out of shape about. They don't have spirits or souls. I can't call myself one of those people. There's another group of people who will actually put animals down when they're inconvenient or give them away. And listen, I've done things in my life that I'm not proud of. I had a cat named Bo's Kitty. If you know, you know. And I was in a tight situation, had to move from a place that I was living into a new place, and the person that I was moving in with was allergic to cats, and so I made a really cutthroat choice to just let Bose out in a trailer park where a friend of mine had lived. Didn't like give her away or anything. It was I'm still deeply ashamed of it all these years later. It was an act of convenience that theoretically harmed a good, kind, sweet, loving cat. So yeah, I'm not blameless in this area either. But I've always loved animals, and especially my podcast co-host Chewy. So with that in mind, I think I said a little bit more the first time I recorded this podcast episode. But with that in mind, I would really be grateful if you are listening right now and you're the kind of person who is willing and open to lift positive vibes, prayers, good thoughts for an animal. Then I would love if you would do that for Chewy. That he would have a miraculous recovery from the cancer. Right now, it looks like we're probably in the category of days if something doesn't change, because he's not able to eat and keep anything down. He rarely is showing signs of hunger, and when he does, unfortunately, it's all coming back up again. So that's probably all that I'd like to let you know. I don't want to be too much of a downer on you, but yeah, it's been tough, and that's part of why this episode will be a little shorter, less well organized. But I did want to talk to you about the STM Peddlers Market, because if you're not currently signing up to sell your books at craft fairs, you're missing out on a massive opportunity. And part of me is it's so good that I almost don't want to tell you about it. Yesterday at the market, the first hour or so, I was a little bit concerned. I had gone to a book fair, so a different thing, a book fair, not a craft fair, but I had gone to a book fair in Des Moines. I think I talked to you about it on this podcast in an earlier episode or two. But I sold that day mostly to other authors who had tables at the book fair, and I did make enough money to cover my travel and booth expenses. but only if I had shared the table. And on this occasion, I kind of sort of shared the table with Rich Hosek, my roving podcast co-host, which, while we're on the subject, if you want to just lift up some good thoughts for him, he's having a family situation right now. And I'm not at liberty to share more than that, but he would certainly benefit from good thoughts as well. At any rate, that book fair was not good. And I'm not going to say that every craft fair is quite as good as the one that I went to, the STM Peddlers Market. I'm saying their name a bunch because I just want to shout them out. They are an amazing thing. Sarah McCandless did a great job organizing it. The first 40 minutes, I really didn't sell any books. And there were two levels. There was the gymnasium upstairs on the main floor, and then there was the cafeteria. Sorry, I was struggling for the word. On the lower level, it smelled like pizza all night. I was very hungry. I'm trying to lose weight. You might know that. And I'm succeeding. And so I didn't eat any pizza, but dang, it smelled really good. But there weren't a lot of people for that first hour. And as they started to filter downstairs and it got busier, all of a sudden I was getting a lot of selling opportunities and I was selling a lot of books. It was surreal. That's what I can tell you is it was a surreal feeling to come into the event with a $5 bill in my pocket. I'm the kind of person who does ready, fire, aim. And so I didn't even have ones to count out change, although nothing I sell needs one. So that's probably okay. I just had a $5 bill because that's what I had. And I left the evening with $250 in cash, $150 on my Venmo, another $150 in my Square. $300 night, $500 night. This is raw and uncut. I'm bad at math. $500 night. I sold more than 50 books. I did actually sell some audiobooks, so that's something to keep note of, is have a way for people to purchase your digital goods, even though you're going to mostly sell physical goods. There will be a handful of people who are like, oh, I do read, but mostly audiobooks. Have a way for them to buy your audiobooks if you have them, because you'll capture a couple of sales. I just can't say enough to go to an event, and in this case, 4 hours, and to make $500. That feels really good because we work hard to sell our books and to find readers. And even if I'd only had one title, I would have been profitable for sure. So just get out there, do your thing, sell your books, go to craft fairs if you're not already. Not all of them are going to be as good as the one I just went to. I was talking with other vendors there, which is something I highly recommend you do as you go to craft fairs, comic expos, even book fairs. Talk to the other people who have booths, because almost always they've been doing it for a while and they'll give you such valuable information on the do's and don'ts and the good places to go. I connected with probably the second most successful vendor there on the cafeteria second floor, and he and his wife sold t-shirts, and they gave me so much good information about other ones that I can go to that are busy and hopping. So build that list, be really specific about it, make sure that you have a spreadsheet so you know where you're going. And then one thing to do that I didn't do and I should have is make sure you track every single book you sell, because that will don't trust your brain to remember how good an event was. Make sure that you know I sold this many of this title. That also will help you to understand, is it worth bringing all of my titles to every event, or maybe some of my standalone titles do better at certain events, whereas my series is going to do best at most other events. It's kind of amorphous, but you probably are following along with me. So that's something to keep in mind, is you really want to focus on the events that, or excuse me, you want to focus on the details within the event. And you can feel my energy is running low. This is going to be a short podcast today. Again, if you want to uplift my good friend, my podcat co-host, Chewy, that would mean the world to me. I'm recording this as often I do on Friday for the Monday episode. So as much as it's hard to say, if things don't turn around, he might not even be with me when this podcast releases. But let's trust that my appointment tonight will do something good. And And he will be, and he'll be healed, and he'll be better, and he'll be back to meowing in the microphone and being his old rascally self for a couple more years. I hope so. Good luck out there as you write, as you try to sell books. Go sign up for a craft fair. Oh, one last thing I did want to say that I put in the first effort of this podcast. Make sure when you go to craft fairs, when you go to comic expos, when you go to book fairs, wherever you go, there are two things you should do. Two things that will make a bigger difference than anything else. They're really easy to do, and I just can't believe how many people don't do them. The first thing is give people the opportunity. So when they walk by your booth, if they glance your way, say, "Hello, do you like to read?" It's the easiest way to get somebody's attention. And you'll be shocked how many people maybe were just in their own world. They were kind of like whatever caught their eye, they might grab, but they just are walking past and they would not have stopped. But when you say, "Hello, do you like to read?" they will say, "Oh, yeah, I like to read sometimes." They'll stop, they'll approach your booth. You tell them a little bit about your book, have that pitch ready, hand them the book with the back facing them, let them read. I know I said two things, and now I'm kind of giving you like build out instructions. But if you just say, "Hello, do you like to read?" and they stop, come over, talk to them, be friendly. And then the most important piece is ask for the sale. I can't believe how many people don't ask for the sale. Like I was surrounded by booth mates, one on my left, one on my right, one behind me, and all night. And I'm listening for what they're doing, paying like attention to them as much as possible. And none of the three asked for a sale. They would tell people what their goods were, and that they would stand there and just smile, just smiling. And then the people are like, "Well, cool. We'll see you later. Good luck. Happy Christmas." Yada yada. They walk away. I really think that a high number of people would have bought the stuff if somebody had said, "Awesome, I noticed you like that. Do you want to buy it? Or you want to get these two things? Here's a deal." So that's what I do is when they're looking at my book, they look at the first one. If they don't like put it down and immediately say, "Oh, well, we'll see you later. I'm not, this doesn't seem like my fit," or whatever. Then you're just like, "Okay, cool. So that sounds good. You want to get the first two books? I have a 2 for $20 deal." And then boom, you're in the money. So make sure that you ask for the sale. It's the really biggest piece. Engage people by asking if they like to read. And then after they've looked at your books, say, "You want to buy them?" Because you'll get a lot of sales that way. The more I do this, the more I feel validated that I can give you advice about what to do. So ask for the sale and give a shout out to my good podcat co-host. And we will talk to you on Wednesday.